So good morning to everyone. Good morning, Samuel. Good morning, Vishal. So guys, are you ready for today's session? So I think we shall start with today's session. Hello Sumit, how are you? I hope you guys are fine this morning. So a very good morning to all of you. Guys, as you all know, I am Mansi Anand, your mentor for RBI Grade B examination. I am an alumni of Delhi School of Economics and a JRF holder in commerce as well as management. So guys, as you all know that in these sessions, what we do is we discuss some questions, and with the help of those questions, we discuss some concepts that can be really useful for you if you are preparing for RBI Grade B examination. So guys, knowledge of current affairs is always useful for such competitive exams, right? So I think we should start today's session without wasting any time. You all must be getting ready. So, hello Shubham. Good morning Vaibhav. So guys, we are going to start with today's session. So before moving to question number 1, I would like to ask you to subscribe to our channel, that is anujindal.in. That can be really beneficial for you. You will get access to many videos which can be really helpful for you. And don't forget to press this bell icon, as it will help you to stay updated regarding different news about different competitive exams. Okay? So now moving on to the first question for today, which says, as per guidelines by RBI, in which situation the revisions of the date of commencement of commercial operations, that is the DCCO, for commercial real estate sector will not be treated as restructuring. So guys, this is your question, first question for today, and here are your options. You have to tell which one is the correct option. So read this question carefully, read the options carefully, and then start answering. So good morning Prakash and Venkatesh. I'm waiting for your answers. So guys, this type of news, it is difficult to find them in newspapers. For staying updated with this kind of updations, you have to be on your toes and you have to be updated with every change or every update that takes place in working of RBI. So you have to check news that what is going on in RBI, how is it changing rules and what is it working on. Then only you would be able to answer these questions about the internal working of RBI. So answers have started to pop up. Anil Kumar says B, whereas Amir says D. Samuel says A and Prakash says D. So guys, I'm waiting for more answers. So I must tell you, one of you is right. So anyone else would like to answer, or should we move to the solution for this question? So no more answers popping up. So I think we should move to the solution for this question. So guys, the answer for this question is A. Option A is the correct answer. So Easter Samuel, you are absolutely right. So now we have to understand that what does this question means. So if you look at the language, it looks a little tricky. It has got some keywords, it has got some phrases which are difficult to understand, like date of commencement of commercial operations or DCCO, and for which sector? They are asking about commercial real estate sector, and after that they are talking about restructuring. So guys, for this we have to stay updated with the news regarding RBI, right? So first of all, before moving to this question, the current news, we should know about the past, right? So first of all, what happened in 2015? So guys, as you all know, the problem of NPAs or the non-performing assets has been in Indian banking and industry for past few years. I think from the time when Dr. Raghuram Rajan was governor of RBI, he started a movement, or he took some steps to reduce the amount of NPA that had been building in Indian banking sector. So to counter that, some of the measures were taken, right? So one measure was extending the date of commencement of commercial operations. So guys, let's first start with the workings of banks, right? So we all know that banks, they fund the projects of different industries. They put money into different projects that industries are involved into. Let's say if there is a businessman, he wants to expand his business and he wants to establish a new factory in somewhere, somewhere else. So what does he require? He requires money for that. And from where is he going to get that money? From banks, right? So now banks invest a lot of funds in a lot of projects, right? Some of these projects are successful, but some of them are unsuccessful. So, but all the projects which are unsuccessful, banks incur losses in these projects because some of them are not able to start. Some preparations have been done for them, but the projects are not starting due to many reasons. So the money of bank, it gets stuck into the unsuccessful project that it funds, right? So I hope there is no doubt till now. Okay, moving ahead. So now, to start all the projects which were having good fundamentals or which can prove to be very beneficial for Indian economy, if they were started, to start all those projects, there was a measure taken by RBI, that is extending the date of commencement of commercial operation. What is this DCCO? So guys, DCCO is nothing but a date when a project starts. As you can see from its full form, here it is asking about commencement. What is commencement? Commencement means start of commercial operations. And what does commercial operation mean? Whatever the project is meant to do. Let's say, as I told you, a businessman, he wants to establish a new factory. So the working of that factory, the new factory starts to work, starts to produce the products or services, whatever the businessman is dealing in, that date will be known as date of commencement of commercial operations, right? So this date is fixed when all the financial arrangements for the project have been done. So when a project has seen its financial closure, what do we mean by financial closure? The time when all the funding for the project has been arranged, all the money that is being put into the project, that has been arranged, then that project is said to be financially closed. And when that project is financially closed, then the date for its beginning of commercial operations is set, right? Now, all those projects which were stuck due to the inadequacies of their promoters. Who are promoters? The founders of the companies or banks, basically the founders of any entity, right? So where the promoters were not capable to start the project, or there were some conflicts between the promoters. So basically we can see there were some inadequacies or some wrongdoings or some problems on the behalf of promoters of the project. In those cases, to start these projects, what did RBI say? RBI said to banks that you should extend this date of commencement of commercial operations, right? So I hope we are clear what does it mean by DCCO. Any problems regarding the meaning of DCCO? So Gaurav, if you have a doubt about yesterday's session, you can ask in the comments right now. We can take it up as per we have time, right? So now, moving ahead, right? Now we know the meaning of DCCO. But guys, what happens is, when the banks extend this date of commencement or beginning of commercial operations, the projects are said to be restructured. Restructured means that there is some sort of problem with the project, That is why it has to be created. The terms regarding the projects have to be made again. They have to be changed as per the time situation changed. So when a project is said to be restructured, that means there is some sort of financial distress with the project. But what did RBI say in 2015? That banks, whatever the projects you are funding, if they are good, if they are fundamentally good, if they have strength to build to contribute in the economy, then don't stall these projects, extend their date without classifying them as restructuring. Because if the projects will be classified as restructured, it will be very difficult for them to start. You are classifying a project into restructuring is like putting a student into a list of weak students, right? So you can understand this with the help of an example. Let's say here is a class teacher, and this teacher, she has divided her class into two parts: academically strong students and academically weak students, right? So these are the two classifications. Now what happens, there is one student who is usually a strong student. He is very good into studies, but what happens, he secures less marks in one term, because let's say he was ill, he was not able to study well as he was sick. That is why his marks are less in one term. So what does the teacher do? The teacher does not want to classify this student into weak category. That is why what does the teacher tell to that student? That listen, if you secure good marks in next term, let's say if you secure 80 and above, you are not going to be put into weak list. I'll put you into strong list, because this securing of low marks by you was not your fault. They were the circumstances, right? So similarly, you can put this analogy into our banking sector notification. Here the class teacher is RBI or the banks, and these students are the projects that banks are funding. So RBI or the banks, they classify projects into strong projects or weak projects. But the projects which are strong fundamentally, and due to some reason, due to the inadequacies of promoters, they are being classified into, they are being put into weak category. RBI does not want to do that. That is why it tells the bank that all the projects which are fundamentally strong, which have good credentials, you should extend their date without putting them into restructured category, right? So now I hope we are clear with the question. Now what is the condition when banks can extend this date without putting the projects into restructured category? When the bank extends the date to within the period of 1 year from the original date that the project was meant to be started, at the time of financial closure of the project. As I told you, when the project is financially closed, a date is set. So whatever the original DCCO was, from that original date, if to the period of 1 year the date is extended, the project will not be stated as a restructured project, or the project will not be stated as a weak project. But if that date is extended beyond that 1 year, then the project will be put into restructured category, right? So I hope we are clear with this question. So guys, all this is what happened in 2015. Now why are we talking about this in 2020? Because recently a notification has come that now all these guidelines will also apply to the commercial real estate sector. Before this notification of 2020, these guidelines were available for the two sectors: infrastructure and non-infrastructure projects. But these non-infrastructure projects, they excluded the commercial real estate sector. But now these guidelines, they have been applied to commercial real estate sectors, and all the guidelines which were applicable to the non-infrastructural project, they are also applicable on commercial real estate projects now, right? So guys, we just learned about that 1 year is the condition for commercial real estate projects, because 1 year was the condition for non-infrastructure projects. So in 2015, it was also decided that if it is an infrastructural project, then this date would be 2 years, right? So we are not talking about it here because there are no changes in that provision. Only the rules applicable to the non-infrastructure project, they are now applicable to the commercial real estate sector. And if these projects require any kind of funding for starting, banks can fund these cost overruns, but they have to check whether the project is fundamentally strong or not. So these are the two conditions. First of all, date should be extended within the period of 1 year from the original DCCO, and the next condition says that all the original terms and conditions of the loan should remain changed. There should be no changes in the loans. So I hope we are clear with this question. And now can we move on to the next question, guys? So are there any doubts? So I don't see any doubts popping up. So I think we should proceed to the next question. So guys, your second question for the day is, choose the correct option as from the below items. So you are given some items here. These are 6 items. You have to classify them into 2 categories, the luxury goods and the thin goods. So you have to tell which one of these 5 is the correct option. So guys, I'm waiting for your answers. So Khushbu, I said that if that project that the bank is funding, it belongs to infrastructural category, it is an infrastructure project, then this date would be 2 years. But we are not talking about it here because it was decided in 2015, and here there are no changes in this provision. Okay, so you can find this on RBI website also, but you'll have to make jump some pages for this. So guys, all of you say E. I think we are very sure about the answer because everyone is saying E. So the correct answer is, the correct answer is E. So a very simple question. You just have to classify the products into 2 categories. I hope we all are clear that what are luxury goods and what are thin goods. Very simple. Luxury goods are the goods that are associated with affluent or wealthy people. So they can be expensive cars like BMW or Rolls-Royce, or they can be expensive jewelry like diamonds or platinum. Okay, and after that, sin goods are the goods which are harmful for the society. Their usage is considered to have a bad influence on the society, like alcohol or drugs. So it's a very simple question. I don't think we require any kind of explanation with them. No, right? So why are we talking about luxury goods and sin goods? Because guys, we all know that GST was implemented on July 1, 2017. So it has almost been 5 years after the implementation of GST, right? So now there is a tussle or conflict between the central government and the state government. And what is this conflict all about? The state governments are saying that within these 5 years of GST implementation, their tax revenues have fallen because after the implementation of GST, they are not able to collect adequate taxes to run their states, right? So that is why they want central government to fund those shortfalls. So whatever the shortfall is in the amount of tax collection that the states are facing, they want the central government to fund it. And the central government, it applies some cess. Cess, what is cess? A type of tax or duty on luxury goods as well as on sin goods. So the tax which are collected, so indirect tax which are collected from luxury goods and sin goods, the central government is looking for that cess to fund the shortfall of states that states are seeing because of GST implementation, right? Now, So now moving ahead. So are there any doubts regarding this question, guys? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say 5? Yeah, we are in 2020. So actually we'll be entering the next year, right? I'm sorry for this. This would be 3, right? Pratibha is asking, are these questions only for RBI? No, these can be useful in SEBI and NABARD as well, because current affairs are useful in many competitive exams. So if you are preparing for SEBI or NABARD, these questions can be helpful there also, right? Because we try to discuss some static concepts as well as the current affairs through the use of these questions, right? So guys, there is one question that arises here, that why are states facing shortfalls in taxes due to GST implementation? Because earlier, before GST, in the pre-GST era, they have some rights to apply taxes, indirect taxes to some products which they didn't have, which they lost after GST implementation. That is why they are facing some shortfalls. Also, when GST was about to be applied, about to be launched, there was some sort of criticism from some states that said that they will face a revenue shortfall if GST is implemented. Then the central government told them that for 5 years they are going to fund every shortfall that arises to states because of the GST implementation, right? So a very simple question. Now moving ahead to the next question for the day, which says, dash is the phenomena triggered by natural calamities or pandemics where consumers buy more of the product they require out of the fear of missing out later. So it's a question which is based on the current scenario. I think we all must be knowing the answer to this question. So guys, I'm waiting for your answers. So all of you are answering. So very simple question, and most of you are correct as you are answering as E. So the correct answer for this question is option E, that is panic buying. So guys, we can experience this phenomena currently in our society. As you can see, due to the spread of COVID-19, everyone is so scared that they will lose out on things, they will lose out on products, and there will be supply shortages in future. That is why everyone is trying to accommodate as many as products that they can. And in the future, there can be sort of lockdowns and self-isolation which would be promoted by government to prevent the spread of COVID-19. That is why people are looking to accommodate as many as products they can, and this phenomena is known as panic buying, right? So guys, now we understand what is panic buying, and as we just learned, this behavior is usually triggered by natural calamities. If you know there will be some sort of earthquake or flood, then also people do this, they accommodate products, right? For example, with the spread of COVID-19. Now, what are the implications? What would happen if there would be panic buying in society? For the first and foremost implication of this would be, there would be shortfalls of products, especially to the needy people. So if everyone is going to buy all the masks that are available in the market, then there will be lesser masks available for the actual doctors or the patients who are working in hospitals. Or if everyone is going to buy all the sanitizers that are available in the market, there will be lesser sanitizers available. So there will be lesser emergency supplies for patients and healthcare professionals, right? So, but companies might think that this would boost their sales, but that sales spike or that sale rise, that would be temporary, right? Because panic buy can drive up sales only if large number of people regularly consume these products which they didn't use earlier. So people might buy them one time, and if the disease is going to be the effect of disease is going to be lesser in the future, they will not buy. So this is not necessary that the sales are going to rise permanently. So that can be a one time or a temporary rise in the sales of companies. So the major impact would be shortage of supplies. If you guys, currently if also you go to your local Kiryana store or a local grocery store from where you buy your household and kitchen items, that shopkeeper will tell you that there are lesser supplies from the manufacturers, right? And how can it be checked? What can be done to prevent panic buying? So government should not intervene in this, because if governments intervene in this, usually there is a backlash from public gets angered by this, because here sentiments are involved, because public wants to stay safe. And if governments will intervene with any sort of measure, that can arise some criticism and backlash from the public, right? And also, if government will increase the price of these products, that can also anger the public. It is known as, guys, price gouging. It means increasing the price of emergency products, right? So this can also anger the public and invite backlash from it. So it is very unlikely for governments to intervene in this phenomena. So in some countries, there are some measures being taken, like home deliveries for self-isolating people. So if someone has decided to stay inside the house, not going outside or not going to markets to buy the products, many stores have decided that they would home deliver the products to such self-isolating customers, right? So I don't think there should be any doubts. It's a very simple concept that you can experience in the current times. So any doubts regarding this question? So no. So guys, moving ahead to the fourth question for the day. Before moving to the fourth question, I would like to ask you guys to subscribe to our Telegram group, join our Telegram group. It can be very beneficial for you, as you can post your doubts and queries there and they would be resolved as soon as possible, right? So here is fourth question for the day, guys, which says, on March 4, 2020, Supreme Court dashed the restriction on regulated entities from dealing in cryptocurrency, which was dashed by Reserve Bank of India in April 2018. So you have to guess the right answer. You have to tell that what did Supreme Court do and what did RBI do with the usage of cryptocurrency. So I'm waiting for your answers. It's a very simple question if you read newspapers regularly. So answers have started to pop up. So most of you say B. So let's wait for some more answers. Swaraj says A, while all of you say B. There is one more answer, Vartika Chaudhary, who says A. So guys, I think today's questions are relatively easier because most of you are answering correct. So the correct solution for this question is option B. Option B is the correct answer because Supreme Court recently lifted the ban which was imposed by RBI. So RBI imposed the restriction or barred the usage of cryptocurrency, barred the exchanges from dealing in cryptocurrency. But this restriction was recently removed by Supreme Court, right? So what is cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency is a form of digital currency or digital assets which can be used as a medium of exchange in place of money, right? So I think we all must have heard about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the most famous cryptocurrency, I guess, which was all over in news from the past one. So in 2018 and 2019, Bitcoin was mostly in news for its hike in its price. So that price rise was due to speculation. There were nothing about fundamentals. That is why its price came down as soon as it went up. So there are other cryptocurrencies also, Ethereum, Litecoin. So now the price of Bitcoin must have, although this price might have come down as soon as it went up, but the usage of cryptocurrency is still on, and many people say that these cryptocurrencies are the future of money, right? So we have to wait and watch that what happens with the rules regarding digital assets in India, because RBI, being the conservative central bank, it does not want to allow the usage of cryptocurrency in India because it has some fears regarding it. Yes, Easter Samuel is right. Facebook also came out with Libra, their own private currency. So you can see that how private entities are also coming up with their digital assets, which the central banks think are threat for the monetary regulation of the world, right? So RBI has some fears that there is anonymity of transactions while you transact using Bitcoins, because there is no identification involved, right? And it is hard to regulate these assets because even the central banks, they don't understand them properly. That is why they don't know how to regulate it. Also, there are fears that if there would be an increase in the usage of digital assets or cryptocurrency, the value, the authority that central banks pose on financial world, it might get reduced. So it might even lead to currency depreciation of some countries where the value of authorities like central banks is going to get reduced. So RBI has many fears regarding this. That is why it barred the entities from dealing in it. But now Supreme Court has lifted that regulation. So guys, I don't think there should be any doubt regarding this question. It is a very simple question. So is there any doubt? So Esaki Selvi, we discussed the current CRR exemption in one of our previous sessions. Today we are short of time and we have to do one more question also. You can refer to that video, refer to that session regarding the CRR exemption, and still if you have any doubt, you can ask it in any session. We would take up in different sessions. So guys, I think we should move to the last question for the day. So the last question for the day is, under which of the following situations can the central government invoke the escape clause? So there are some conditions, there are some statements given to you. You have to tell that under which conditions the state government is allowed to invoke the escape clause. So here are the 4 statements. And here are the 5 options. You have to tell that which are the correct conditions when central government is allowed to invoke the escape clause. So Venkatesh has come up with the answer and he says A is the correct answer. So let's see who all of you answer correctly. So waiting for more answers, guys. So most of you say A. A is the correct answer. Whereas Simple says B. Ankur says D. So guys, read the question carefully, read the statements carefully, and then we have already discussed escape clause in one of our previous sessions, and there I told you that which are the conditions when the central government is allowed to invoke the escape clause. So in 2018, these amendments were made to the FRBM Act. You have to tell the conditions. So guys, read them first, read them carefully, then you would be able to answer it correctly. So there is much variety in the answers. I think we should move to the solution, and the answer for this question is option E. So all those of you who answered as E, you are absolutely correct. So Nilesh, Shubham, Amir, you guys are absolutely right because you answered correctly. So we already discussed what the escape clause is. Escape clause is the situation, or it refers to a contract where a party can escape its liability, or it cannot be held responsible, or it cannot be held obliged for the acts that it had done. So here, under escape clause, a party can be freed from an obligation. And here, what party is being talked about? Here we are talking about the central government. So whenever the central government, it over budgets, it exceeds the budget which has been decided for it, it can refer to the escape clause and escape from its obligation under three conditions. And what are these three conditions? So as I told you, in 2018 FRBM Act was, what is FRBM Act? Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. So it specified three conditions under which the escape clause can be invoked, right? And what are these three conditions, guys? The first condition is, if there are threats to national security, there is any situation of war or natural calamity, or there is some sort of condition that threatens the public, there if the government has to spend more, it can invoke the escape clause. And if the government is applying some sort of structural reforms like the IBC or the GST reform to strengthen the fundamentals of the financial sector of the country, then also if the government overspends, it is allowed to do that. And if there is a sharp decline in the real output growth of at least 3 percentage points, so if the economy goes down and there is a sharp decline in growth, and to boost that, to stimulate the economy, the government spends the money and it goes over the budget, then also it is allowed to do that. So these three conditions are the conditions where the government can invoke the escape clause. The fourth statement is the wrong statement, right? So I hope we are clear with all the 5 questions that we discussed today. I think relatively they were simpler questions, right? As most of you knew the correct answers. So guys, are there any doubts regarding any of the questions discussed today? So I don't see any doubts popping up. Since I don't see any doubts, I think we should end the session here. So we'll be back with more questions that would help you to prepare. And I hope to see you all at the same time tomorrow. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being here and answering the questions. So see you all tomorrow. Thank you.